folks, welcome in. Seven Rivers Racing and KQEG TV. I am the lovely tanned Dan Diker along with Al Losi. Welcome to the program. We're coming off of a huge weekend. Not only great races at La Crosse Speedway, but spent 3 days at the Milwaukee Mile with Brent Kirchner and his entire crew, and about 80 super late models. Had about 40 Big Eights, a whole collection of trucks, and the vintage races as well. And I tell you what a great time we had out there. I want to thank the entire Honey Badger crew. Did some media stuff for Brent, and even helped out in the car. I even was over the wall helping on the car at the 75-lap break.
There you go. And
didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing.
Isn't the Milwaukee Mile such a great venue for car racing? It'll be so nice when they can bring back the Nationwide Series again. The ASA put on such a great show, and the other events that went on, I heard were awesome.
Yeah, we want to send kudos out to Todd Korsh right off the bat. Todd Korsh, Mr. Consistent, was one of the only local drivers that was there. Brent Kirchner ran the Super Lates. Todd ran the Big 8 Series, and along with some other names that are around the area, but primarily at the La Crosse Speedway. Right. Todd did fantastic. Didn't know he showed up late on the well, let's see, I got to get my days right here, on the first day before practice, so Monday night. Right. Only had a couple of chances to practice, or chances to get out, and actually qualified, I think, in the top 17.
Yeah, he originally wasn't going to show up. In fact, I was talking to my son. He said that they came upon a motor late that they could rent to get out there, because obviously the La Crosse motor wouldn't work on the large track at Milwaukee.
Well, he said turns 1 and 2 really surprised him. He said, man, that's what it's like going in and out of that, doing about 140. But
it comes up fast.
Out of 40 or so cars, I think Todd ended up in the top 20. For the features, so congratulations. Brent Kirchner was just unreal. This was totally unexpected, and I'm speaking on behalf of Brent. We went out there. Here he is, the opening introductions on the front row stage. Of course, Brent drives the number 8 City Auto Sales late model La Crosse. Here he was driving the number 8 super late model at the Milwaukee Mile. First time he had been back since 2005, 2006. And never competed any better than this. We've got some video that our guest, as a matter of fact, shot today. He got better as the day went on. He was kind of jittery, so we're going to give him some video lessons. We were perched, actually, luckily enough, we were parked right there in turn 1, right off the pit road, and that's where I spent almost all 3 days, was right there on that wall. And Brent, for the entire day, went out and ran on practice tires, and would have known he'd have been in the top 15 right off the bat if he'd had new tires on. The morning of the race, he dumped it into the wall, came out, the entire front end was V-shaped, as you see Rusty Wallace in the track right there. There is Ross Kenseth driving the 25, not really liking that paint scheme. There's Ross Kenseth. He got a better applause than Rusty Wallace did on the stage. It was incredible to see. There's Rusty Wallace, as we talked to him in the pit areas many times throughout the weekend. And going back to Kirchner, so he wrecks it on his very first practice lap on Monday. You only had 2 sessions to go.
Sure.
He and Norm and Jim and a couple of other guys, Rick Tackman Jr., that comes out from Milwaukee every now and then to help at La Crosse, came out and did some bagging. Hour and a half later, he put 2 laps down, said, we're going to stop it right there. Went on, qualified second fastest behind John Nemechek out of the entire group, and then went on and took 5th in the feature, behind all the NASCAR guys we were hyping up, all these ASA stars that were out there. He just had a fantastic run.
People don't realize how important a crew is. A driver can drive the car fast, but the car's not going to be fast unless the crew can put it back together. And after even a small little ding, it takes an awful lot on a large track to get the aerodynamics down, the suspension correct, make sure your tires are going to perform as well with this new setup, because however the vehicle was before the crash, it's not going to be the same.
Well, I'll tell you what, though, they did nothing to the suspension. Didn't even check the tires. Had nothing to do whatsoever. It was all concentrated on that front end. And some of the welding that went on, some of the cutting and the sway. I mean, it was just incredible to watch these guys go out there and bang away and do what they did.
There's an old saying that says that sometimes you can crash a car to go faster.
Well, you know, and it really didn't matter, though, because he was already fast. And again, he was one of the ones that had his practice tires were from Cedar Rapids 2 years ago.
Oh, boy.
Had already had 30 laps on them. And we knew he was going to be in the top 20 just on the old tires. This wasn't new tires. We didn't have the new tires for the next day. Well, qualified second. There was a total 42 cars that started the Howie Lettow 150 at the mile. Travis Sauter won the race, and pretty much from beginning to end. He had some nice competition going on through some of the cautions we had. We had a 15-lap pileup right in front of us in turn 1. Chase Elliott, we've talked about him as the hottest driver in the country. Young man, very well spoken. I had a nice chance to spend some minutes with him and his dad. Ended up taking second. Johnny Sauter third. Sauter was leading that race actually was in second for quite a bit of that race, and was one of those got lucky capitalizing on some restarts. Jonathan Eileen off the ASA Series. We'll see him in Oktoberfest. He ended up taking fourth. Brent Kirchner rounded out the top 5. Some other notables. Matt Kenseth took 6th. Brent Kirchner passed Kenseth in turn 2 with 2 laps to go, split 2 cars, and ended up in the top 5. And I asked him later on as I was interviewing him, where did that move come from? He says, well, I've seen Matt do it on TV, so I decided to do it.
You might as well. You might as well. One thing I would like to mention, Chase Elliott is, as you mentioned, you've spoken to him over the weekend or at the track. He's a well-spoken kid. He has literally lived his whole life at the racetrack. When I was back in the Cup Series, I remember Bill walking through the pit area, the garage area, back when Chase was born, and Bill's wife would carry Chase around, and Chase couldn't have been more than 3 months old. And literally, Bill's smile back then was more than when he won the $1 million.
Bill was actually helping push the car this weekend as well. Eric Almirola just had a horrible weekend. Just his qualifying was bad, his fast times were bad, but we lost a lot of cars during that race, and he ended up 8th. David Reagan had a chance to talk with him, too. You'll hear all these interviews coming up on Saturday on the AM 580 WK2I Race Report, as a matter of fact, as we go more in-depth on the Howie Lettow. John Nemechek, 23rd. He got into a wreck late in this one right here. He was your quick-time qualifier. And I tell you what, that kid, if you had put him in street clothes, he was just turned 15, dimples, braces, the cute little boy look. I mean, it was really odd to see him go out there and all of 4'9", I think he was, run that race. Rusty Wallace went through a couple of motors. He finished 31st. Skylar Holzhausen on a Bangor ended up taking 40th. So we had a great time down there. Next road course for that group of drivers and some sprint guys will be coming up in September, as we're going to be hitting the Iowa Speedway on a Friday night. Can't wait to go out and cover that one as well. Coming up, we're going to recap our last weekend's races at the La Crosse Speedway. This has been such a quick for me, taking time off and following races. It's going to be race time again coming up here this weekend. I'm Dan Diger along with LOC. Stay with us. Video highlights coming up from La Crosse coming up next on 7 Rivers Racing.